Well, welcome to Tech and Cards, where technology meets sports cards. I'm your host, Brad Bethune, account manager for Integris. Actually, it's account executive, not account manager. Uh, Wanted to bring two parts of my passions of the hobby together: technology and sports cards. A little bit about me. Spent about 15 years in the IT industry, working for companies like NEC, Cisco Whiptail, HP, McAfee, some resellers, some distributors, and now with Integris. About 2019, I got back into sports cards under the alias of Texas Card Dude, and I've become engineer on Hobby Hotline Tuesdays and Saturdays. I kind of wanted to start a show where my passions met and do some teaching and do some learning. And typically, we're going to do 10 minutes on sport cards and 10 minutes on tech and then 10 minutes on, meshing them together and putting them together. However, tonight I have another guest. It is Mr. Jeff Dinsen. How are you, sir?
Good, man. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. Getting ready to start the week off. I got a whole bunch of meetings going on, a whole bunch of shaking paws and meeting people and doing some learning. So just gonna have a fantastic week. How about you?
I guess I cannot complain. Every week is usually quite a grind for me, but I kind of like to live up to it. I look forward to it, I guess, kind of in the world that I'm in. I know you've done sales most of your life. That's kind of my gig too, where the sky is the limit. I guess I kind of decide on how much pay I'm going to get paid week in and week out. And I kind of like that hustle and I like that push, if you will. So, and I'm happy to be on here tonight, and I'm happy to change up the pace a little bit and do a little twist to the show for once in a great while on your end. But I'm happy to be here. So
Yeah, so this is one of my hobby hotline brethren. We just we've got a third person to it, which is Logan Ward, aka Captain Skidmark or hashtag
hashtag
Skidmark,
skid marks. Yep.
hashtag Skidmark. Wanted to make sure we did our due diligence on that, and it's usually some pretty good silliness that occurs and some hobby craziness. And speaking of hobby craziness, so Jeff, what do you collect?
If you guys only knew, and he'll talk about it a little bit, but yeah, that's kind of an inside thing for us. I mean, it's a real question, but it's kind of an inside thing that we'll let him get into here in a minute after I answer what he asked me. So,
Yeah.
really, me growing up, being born and raised, and pretty much living in Minnesota my whole life, I'm really true. I guess you could call me a homer, if you will. Really big though into a couple of childhood or players as I was growing up in my younger years. One of the name with the Kirby Puckett and another of Chris Carter. So, a Minnesota Twin, a Minnesota Viking. Puckett, kind of just his whole story. I read his book when I was younger. My mom actually bought me his book. Was really keyed in on that 87 World Series against the Braves and that whole story behind the game 6 and us as the Twins being down and him walking into the locker room and saying, "What's going on, guys? Everybody looks a little down." And kind of the team didn't have the confidence, if you will. And he basically flat out told them, there's a huge story behind this and everybody talks about it. But he told everybody in the locker room, he said, y'all jump on my back tonight. I got you guys. And he ended up hitting that game-winning home run. See you tomorrow night or game 7, and that ended up getting us to win that World Series. So huge Puckett fan. Just his how he grew up. Living in Chicago in the bad parts of Chicago, living 20-25 stories up in an apartment with his mom, and him telling the stories of constantly having to bring all the groceries up. All those flights of stairs with no elevator, just kind of little things. Being the underdogs, if you will, I think is what I referenced before. I'm always a fan of those underdogs. And then Chris Carter being a guy who really has has another amazing story, being kind of taking his life in a wrong turn for a while, and being kind of an alcoholic and getting, addicted to some drugs, and then cleaning his act up, finding God and becoming a Hall of Fame football player. So, those stories there, and those passions, if you will, the underdogs where they are, is really what I connect with. But I also, collect any, Minnesota, any other Twins, Vikes, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cooks, if you will, Adam Thielens of the world. I was a big Eddie Rosario fan when he was here in Minnesota, huge Rosario fan. It was sad to see him go. In fact, Mitch Garver was one of my top PC players who now went to Texas. He's actually a Ranger. He's on your Rangers now.
Yeah.
He's a power bat catcher. Got to get that average up a little bit, but man, he can pop those home runs. He's got a lot of power. And then, Desmond Bain would be a guy outside of the Minnesota skirts. Desmond Bain, of the Memphis Grizzlies. And then Jason Tatum is another guy that I got to throw out there that I've started to collect for a few years now. And the reason why I really started to even PC him or collect him was because that's my son's favorite basketball player anyway. And, I wanted to try to build into someone he liked to queue into my PC so that I have something there for him that has some type of meaning that he'll look back upon. And when he inherits the cards or I give them to him or whatever, and, he can remember, as that being one of his favorite basketball players and actually having a collection handed over to him of his favorite players. So, putting some of those things together and tying them in, that's really the drive. But, I'm also a guy who, again, Minnesota. So Anthony Edwards, I guess you could say, is a little bit higher in price if you're out there looking at singles or values per. Justin Jefferson's getting up there. But even like the Chris Carters, the Kirby Pucketts, I mean, you can get most of the guys I PC are very, very reasonably priced. And it makes it a little more fun because I can get more of that and not have to spend hundreds per card or thousands per card or whatever it might be, chasing some of those bigger players. So.
Yeah. Just as long as you don't do the Vikings chant, that's not allowed.
We can get the skull going.
You can't do it.
Hey, by the way, Pat McCaffrey, Adam Thielen was on the McCaffrey show 2 weeks ago, and he actually got Pat McCaffrey to do it. And they also, apparently, he's going to be coming to a game because they got a jersey with his name on it, and they already said that they're going to make him a honorable whatever, and he's going to blow the big horn and start the chant at one of the games. And he said he was down to do it, so I had to throw that in there.
No Vikings chant allowed on this show. Respect for Chris Carter, though. I did not know anything about his story whatsoever.
It's incredible.
Kevin Mitchell as well. That's just two absolutely amazing stories that I can completely understand. Where you would come up and actually start PCing those, specifically those guys being underdogs. Yep. So, we're going to go to a segment that's called, What's Up? So, what's up in the hobby? Is there anything going on? I mean, is there anything exciting going on in the hobby?
There's a lot of things going on, and we're not going to bring any names of necessarily who pulled or who did what here because we don't need to give any more credit where credit maybe doesn't need to be due anymore. But the logo man, the triple logo man, the chase for the logo man has been pulled, has been hit. This card is actually with Golden Auctions now. And in fact, I think it's even hit the billboard in, there you go. New York City.
Big time.
Yeah, big time right there. So that's going to be hitting an auction. I think we found out for sure. I mean, the guys that own the card, there's 3 guys that are owners of it that each have a piece of it for each player, right? One tied to each player. But they met with Ken Golden and they all took a picture with them today, I think, which means it's going to be getting into the auction. So talk to me. What did we get any kind of price or what they think it might sell for?
Yeah. This card's expected to hit like an absolute record. You know, they had the T206 that just blew it up. I
Right.
can't believe this card's expected to go for at least $6.6 million.
Wow.
And you're talking the bounty on it was 3.
Right.
So they didn't
Double.
take the bounty, which was probably, I mean, that's a smart decision on their side.
Right.
But you and
Right.
me being sales reps and
Right.
cash oriented, and I'm like a slot machine sometimes. Show me the money. six
Right.
point six million. Whew, that's some pretty good life changing money right there.
It is. It
That's
really
some pretty
is.
good life changing money. And then just to know and going through that process, um, I certainly wouldn't want to be the CPA that has to go through that and has to go through
Right.
the tax loops and all the tax holes and all that's
No.
involved. But
Right.
there's no, I mean, but that's life changing money right there.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
hardcore.
you'd figure if it really hits like 6.6, I think we were kind of talking about this beforehand. They're probably each walking away around 1.5. I mean, we don't know the
Yeah,
exact figures, but if if it is 6.6, that's 2.2 each. You figure once you pull the taxes, fees out, probably somewhere around 1.5 each, maybe a little under that, just barely. But man, either way,
one
anything
five,
over 1 million is crazy.
1.5 cash,
Yes. Yes.
cash,
Yes.
cash.
Yes.
And
Yep.
I showed up this photo. I'm going to show it again. And for those of you who are listening on the podcast, what we're looking at right now is we're looking at a picture of 48th and Broadway in
Uh-huh.
downtown Manhattan. And staring at the Crown Plaza with the big billboard there. And you got the Krispy Kreme donut logo down on bottom, and then you've got golden and the logo man card. But what really impresses me now is this Krispy Kreme hot donuts now. I'm more interested right at this second in the hot donuts than I am the 6.6 million because I'm getting a little hungry. Looking at
Right?
that
Yeah, I'm
billboard.
ready for a little dessert.
I'm looking forward for a little bit of little bit of dessert on that bad boy. So
Then we also a couple other things going on too. Prism football Prism just released
that's
this week.
2022 football prism, right?
No, 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 no,
2022.
no, 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 no. 2021. We always get to get it after the season ends every year.
And after the draft
2021.
too. Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Yes. And we're not getting the rookies that were just drafted. We're going back from last year's rookies. Yes.
No, yeah, all the fun that entails. Well, at
So we
least we
had the
don't have to wait for rookie performances. I
right,
mean, at least we know who
exactly.
the good
We
rookies
already
are.
got that. We already know who we're going after for that year. But yeah, so first off the line from everything I'm seeing and hearing and what I've seen myself personally, ripped, been a part of, absolute disappointment. Seeing a lot of wild card or point redemptions in place of these first off the line auto cards that are supposed to be in place. They're 400 points, 600 points, 800 points. I mean, if you're going to do it and you're going to actually put points in first off the line, we're talking a $2,300 to $2,600 box, first off the line prism box. It's got to be a high point
Yeah,
thing. It's got to be worth some kind of value here. Come on, Panini. You guys are better than this. Way better than this.
exactly.
I yeah.
Yeah, I
I've
mean,
seen
especially after waiting so long for this product, and then I mean, the points do matter if we're going to who's lying from it anyway. But I mean,
right.
do they matter when it actually? I mean, you expect first off the line to have this. I mean, sorry for interrupting, but I was just like, you've got to be
No.
kidding me.
Yeah. And then 2 days after that or 3 days after that, the regular hobby prism drops. And as far as what I've seen so far, there's been some big bangers coming out of there already that are not first off the line. We had the Mac Jones 101. It wasn't the auto, but it was the 101 Mac Jones rookie card hit by
Yeah,
a 13-year-old kid that bought a box of Prism Hobby, sold for $100,000. They've already done the transaction. There's been pictures on social media showing the card with the cash stacked right there. probably, I'm assuming, the father or somebody, and then the guy that's buying it, shaking hands, doing the deal. But talk about life changing. I mean, what did you mention about, that
College
$100,000 for
tuition,
that
man.
kid?
College tuition right there. At
There
least,
you go.
with, I don't know, inflation increasing, but at least
Right.
half of college tuition paid
Right.
for right
Right.
there. Right there.
It's crazy.
Man. And that's
And
just
I'll tell you what,
one card. That's not talking about anything else that was in the box. I mean, come on.
another shout out to my buddies at Triple Diamond Sports Breaks, a shop that's in town here. But the other night, I was actually watching their live. I was just hanging out for a little while, and they pulled the Trey Lance gold vinyl auto, and it was 5 of 5 because the gold vinyls are numbered to 5, and it's jersey number to 5, gold vinyl auto rookie.
Dang.
That could be a potential $100,000 card too, because that one has the ink on it. That's numbered to 5. It's a jersey number. I know we get into all this quirky, weird eBay 101 stuff, but at the end of the day, people do pay more money for that stuff. That thing gets graded, and it looks like it could grade potentially a 10. I mean, we're talking big money here with that autograph on it. So again, I've seen a lot of big stuff coming out of the regular hobby prism, and I just didn't see much out of the first off the lines. Like, just very disappointed in that first off the line side of the things.
Well, if you imagine this stuff's coming out of the hobby, what's coming out of the blasters?
Right.
Dang.
Yep.
Dang. I mean, parallels galore. Parallels galore. 50.
And you want to talk about blasters, Fanatics? That's a good segue to that whole blaster thing. Fanatics just dropped, I think today they dropped the link to do a drop in, or you could buy it. You could get yourself in for up to 12 blasters at $29.99 a pop. Not guaranteed you're getting them. You could do up to 12. You could do 1 to 12, but you get into a pool, and I don't know how they potentially pick it, but they'll let you know if you get in, or if you get the amount, or how many you get, and then they'll charge you. They have your information on file. They'll charge you if you hit the pool. So that actually dropped today. There was people posting stuff about that earlier today. So for the Prism Blasters. So that's right around the corner. That's coming.
We were talking earlier. I mean, think about the singles. I mean, people are already going nuts for the singles, and the single prices being just skyrocket high, high. And I'm going, you were saying, why pay the skyrocket high? Just wait a little bit. It's like
give it a couple weeks,
2
to 3 weeks,
like training camp, 5 months.
Yep. 2 to 3 weeks, even, because the hype will die down. The prices will start to drop because more products been open. There's more stuff out there. There's more available, right? Unless we're talking a 101 or something of a certain card. But we're talking just like Kyle Pitts, single standard rookie, just base rookies, whatever. There's going to be a ton of them everywhere. It's going to be flooded in a couple weeks. The prices are going to continue to drop. The only way that's going to change, and this is true with anything and any cards, the only way that's going to change is if it's in season and they're actually playing regular season games, and say someone like Kyle Pitts, and that's who you're looking for, just starts to explode and has like 2 or 3 touchdown games. And then people are going to start drawing interest. His name is there. They're going to start climbing up, but we're talking months before regular season games. So give it a couple weeks. The hype will die down. The prices will drop on your singles. Go and get them then.
Yeah, and I don't understand the obsession with the singles, because I mean, I've seen what they look like, and aesthetically, come on, man. Come on. Where's my come on, man button?
Come on, man.
God, Panini, you've done so well, and just seems like the past couple of years, it's kind of been, let's just throw the whole picture from head to toe on there and put them in a pose, and then the rest is borders and colors and whatever.
Yeah, let's go back to like 2014 Prism.
Yeah.
Where it's fuller size, bigger blown up image, not really much border. You can change the different parallels with the color, the background of the behind the players themselves. Do some different designs, whatever you want to do behind it. Not eliminate the borders and just blow up the image of the player. So we're actually getting the player card. We're not getting all this border stuff and just a little bit of the player, full picture of the player, but he's tiny. He's like a mini me on the card,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's not a short joke, is it? That's not a
No,
short joke.
no,
Oh, okay.
never.
Okay.
I would never do that.
Hashtag skid mark, brother. Hashtag
Yeah,
skid
that's
mark.
right, buddy.
So let's we'll let the cat out. I mean, Jeff and I we do Hobby Hotline together. There's me, there's Logan Ward, and then there's Jeff, and we have gotten to be the comic relief of Hobby Hotline. And
For
you know,
sure.
one day we were just being absolutely silly, and you know, we were resetting the show. We were anything and everything. We were turning it off and then turning it back on. And then we got to a point, and I just went, "So Jeff, what do you collect?" Like the whole like half. It was 30 minutes of us being absolutely silly and stupid.
Goofball.
Did you see actually? Canton Card Collector actually said, "When are you and Jeff and Logan going to be on again?"
See?
Is my favorite trio. I was
Right,
just.
man. That's
It warmed
awesome.
my heart. It warmed
That's awesome.
my heart.
Love to hear that. That sort of should be. And you know, we should that's how the show should be. Not necessarily it has to have the humor that we bring every time, but just to have the people that want to get those groups and want to see people back on. And when are they going to be back on again? Get them excited, get the people in, get them drawn in. And you know, sometimes people want a good laugh or a good just getaway on a Saturday morning, and that's what we try to bring them, I think, you know. So yeah.
And speaking of Hobby Hotline, I really want to segue and go deep and wide into this topic, and something that's really near and dear to my heart. I was just talking to my wife about how we would do something. How did you get connected to Hobby Hotline? Let me ask you that question.
Yep. So Mr. John Newman, shout out to John.
Newman.
Shout out to Newman. He stumbled. He had reached out to me, and he reached out to me, and he basically just introduced himself, and I didn't really know much about him. You know, the hobby is so big, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would say, how could you not know about John Newman? And I've been in the hobby for a long time, been around, but it's just so big. You know, there's so many different communities. There's so many different, you know, barriers. You got all the different social platforms. You got the Facebook platform. You got Twitter. You got Instagram, you got YouTube, you got just all sorts of different things. And then you just got your communities within the cities at the card shows. Sometimes they have trade nights once a month and whatever else it might be. So John had just sent me like a DM, I think through Twitter. I want to say it was through Twitter. And he just introduced himself and he said that, hey, you know, I would love to interview you or get you on my podcast and interview you sometime. And I said, sure, man, I would love to. You know, you know, he's like, well, it's just I interview, you know, I have some different questions for you as far as, you know, what you do. You know, I've heard some talk about, you know, you do these 24-hour streams. I actually just got off of watching some of clips from some of this last 24-hour stream you just did. And this was actually right after I just finished a 24-hour stream, like a day or two after that or something. And then we did the interview literally like a couple days after that. But, basically met through there, did the interview with him, and then I ended up flipping it and interviewing him on my In Depth with Deafness show. And then he basically, like a couple weeks later or a month later, you know, said that, hey, they were trying to get more people into the Hobby Hotline, trying to build it a little bit more, have more influencers, hobbyists, what have you, you know, kind of mix it up a little bit, get some different voices within the Hobby Hotline. And I told him, yeah, I'd be down. I'd love to be a part of the show. And here we are. I mean, I don't even know how long I've been a part with you guys now. I think probably at least a year, if not longer.
Pretty close to it for her, but yeah, pretty close.
Probably somewhere around there. So
it was almost 2 for me. So I'm now considered one of the old people there.
Yeah, so probably a year, a little over a year, maybe.
Yeah. So what really wanted to drill down, because I'm a huge charity guy. We were just talking about possibly putting on a golf tournament for a charity that Integris is huge on nonprofits and giving back to the community. So I really wanted to hear. mean, and even going back to the content creators dinner with Dr. Beckett, that was something that I asked about, and it hasn't been released yet. Hopefully, he'll release it in the next day or so. You'll be able to hear the conversation. But charity work is so near and dear to my heart. I really want to, you mentioned earlier, members in need and Toys for Tots and Mended Hearts. Talk to us a little bit about, I mean, does that go back to the underdog story that you were talking about earlier? And just to talk a little bit about that, because I think a lot of people, especially in business and in the hobby and in just in life in general, we really need to start focusing on giving back.
Yeah, Brad, I think, there's a couple different pieces there that kind of have always pushed me or brought me into being a giver, a helper, if you will. I've told my story many times on my channel within my community and a lot of people that know me, and we don't have the time for me to tell that whole story here right now. But basically, to put everything in a nutshell, I've literally pretty much started with almost absolutely nothing in my life. Not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always gotten myself to a point where I'm comfortable, right? And now I'm at a point where there's no going back. Like I would hope I would never be in a position like that again that I put myself in. And I would tell you that in these cases of when these times have happened, it was kind of a my choice thing. It was me to get out of a certain situation, if you will, and I pretty much just left it as it was. Whether it was, my marriage that took a turn because, well, we don't have to get into it, but it wasn't really anything I did personally. But I decided that I was going to leave with pretty much nothing. My kids, I have my kids, take care of them. But I was going to take the beat up old van. We had a brand new car too. She could have the car. I was going to basically pack a bag of whatever I had and start over. And I did that. And then I was in another place where same thing. And I basically took a bag of clothes and left everything else, the house and everything where I was at, and just started over. And here I am. So it's always drawn me to, I hate seeing people struggle. Like a hard thing for me is seeing people struggle, whether it's financially, mentally with like depression or whatever it might be. So I've always had this thing in me. Like I've never really cared about anybody giving me anything. Like I've never really, as much as I appreciate it and, it's great, I've always had so much more. I get a natural high and a natural feeling from helping others out, and getting people in a better place. Right.
Yeah.
And the first time that I'd really done this, as I started my YouTube channel, because I had done some card breaks years ago on my own channel and got out of it because I couldn't do it because I work in my regular job and trying to do that and not having anybody to help sort and package and ship. And that's what takes all the time. It just became too much. It wasn't fun for me. It was more of a task than anything else. So I stepped away from that. But I wanted to continue to utilize my YouTube channel. So I started doing like the auctions, like card auctions, quarter auctions, dollar auctions, whatever you might, on Tuesday nights typically. But then I started coming with this idea. I was like, you know what? Like I'd have people reaching out to me and like telling me their stories and sending me emails. Cause I was very open on my channel. Like when I did my auctions, it wasn't just me sitting there putting cards up and trying to sell a card. It was me communicating, connecting with the people in my community. So I literally would sit there and I would tell them, I would open up. I'd tell them anything and everything. They asked me something, I would tell them about my life. So people started to basically connect with me and start emailing me and telling me about, situations they're in or things or that. And I would try to get to know them a little more and talk to them and deal with them and whatever. And it got to a point where there would be times where I'd be like, I can't sit here anymore and I can't watch or hear about this person's struggle. So then I decided, you know what? Why don't I do a 24-hour stream? Why don't I do a couple of these throughout as time goes, but we'll start with one because I know I can do this. I know I can go 24 hours live streaming. We'll do card sales, boxes of product that I'll buy. I'll have tons of auctions, and we'll not only do one auction throughout this 24-hour stream, but we'll probably do 2, 3, 4. We'll split it up. We'll break it up throughout the night. So I would stretch all this out and do all this, and I would do packs, and I would bring people on and interview them for like a half an hour throughout the segments, but I'd go for 24 hours. And whatever money, and everybody knew we were raising money for a person in need or somebody in need, like these first couple ones I was doing. And I mean, we would raise just a boat ton of money, and there would be people, and they would all get their credit as well, that would reach out, that would maybe say when we were planning this, because we'd plan this out ahead of time. It wasn't just like one day I was like, all right, today I'm going live for 24 hours and we're doing this and raising money. Like, this was planned out. So there would be some people that might send cards to me as well to help out, say, hey, I want to get involved. I want to be a part of this. I want to help. I want to contribute. So they would send cards, and we would make sure everybody's names that did that were all mentioned numerous times throughout these streams, etc. We'd raise this money and, you know, ultimately end up donating it all to these members or these people in need, and
that's awesome.
Changing their lives in one way or another. And then it kind of went from members in need to, I have a really close friend that I've connected to within the hobby, and he's a really close friend. In fact, I mean, he's actually even said to me, and I've met him, and we've actually been together and hung out. We met up at the National in Chicago 4 years ago now, I think it was. Yeah. That was the first time we actually met. But we had talked for like 2 to 3 years before this all the time on social medias, in streams, you know, texting, calling, whatever. We finally got to meet at the National in Chicago, I think, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I got to know him a lot more. And his son Maddox was born with a heart condition.
Do you remember what the heart condition was?
If
you don't, that's okay.
It's a crazy name, and I can never pronounce it or say it right. And I think I struggle every time whenever it's brought up. Like, so I'm not even going to attempt to say it or bring it, but I'm sure that if he watches this, and I'll have him watch it, he can maybe comment on the video or something. He can comment exactly what it is. Yeah. But he had told me about, and he didn't ask me to do anything for this for mended. It's actually mended hearts, but we did it for mended little hearts. And the reason why is because it was for the younger, the children that are born with these conditions that have to go through this at a very young age. And that's what Maddox had to do. And he'd always, when we had talked, he'd always tell me about, you know, this group, Mended Little Hearts, that basically took their family in and really worked and helped with them through the whole process, and told them where they could park for free when they're going to these clinics. And when they got to the hospital for the surgeries, they were there with the family, with him and his wife through this whole process, and with Maddox the whole time. And like, they were just a great support system for them. So I had brought it up because Maddox's birthday was coming up. This was, I think, almost 3 years ago now. His birthday was coming up, and it was the anniversary of when he had his surgery. So I told my buddy Matt Balls, love you, buddy, that I wanted to do a fundraiser and donate money to Mended Little Hearts. Like, I wanted to do something for them. And man, I mean, he was like so ecstatic, and dude, you don't have to do this. This is crazy. Like, this is awesome. Like, this is huge. And so he was a huge part too. Like, when he found out about this, like, there were so many cool things that he had like in his collection that he literally is like, dude, I'm shipping these to you. You're going to sell these in this auction as well. Like, he contributed it. Awesome. I didn't ask him to send anything or contribute anything. He contributed a bunch of stuff, like sent a bunch of his cards. He had a Gronk autoed football that he had sent, like, that he's like, dude, sell it, man. This means so much more to me than any of this stuff, which I agree. Like, cards and all that are just whatever. They're a side piece. And there was so many other people that contributed and helped out and sent cards. and we ended up raising, I want to say it was 23 or $2,600.
That's awesome.
And that was all donated to Mended Little Hearts. And we donated it to the specific Mended Little Hearts that was affiliated with where Maddox had gone through or went.
Yeah.
And we actually even put in there, like, on the donation notes, like we put, like, team, like hashtag Team Maddox or whatever, like in honor or for Maddox, which is super awesome, super cool. So that right there, and just like the feeling you get, it's unexplainable. Like when you accomplish, and when a community accomplishes something like that and comes together and does such a cool thing like that and makes such a cool donation. I mean, I'm not any big, huge influencer. I don't have 1 million subscribers.
Yep.
I don't have, I can't raise $50,000 or $100,000. But man, a small community like us raising $2,600,
that's
like
huge. That's
it's
awesome.
mind blowing, and it's amazing what this community can come through and do. And it goes back to Newman asking me one time. He said, I remember in the interview that he interviewed me, and he said, Jeff, I don't know how you do it. How do you get the energy, or how do you do it to go 24 hours and stream for 24 hours? And my answer was, and it's kind of like his same answer that he kind of goes by with the hobby. It's the people, man. The people are what keep me going. The people are what move me. I always have people in the stream. I always have people interacting, talking to me, saying something. And it's them. That's what drives me. That's what moves me. And then the Toys for Tots thing, this was kind of a last second deal. This was this last Christmas. And I was like, I really want to do something. And here's what I really wanted to do. My initial plan was, and I'm going to probably hope to do that this year. But my initial plan was, and it was just too late when I decided what I wanted to do. My initial plan was to basically do a bunch of auction sales, like my Tuesday night auctions that I used to do, and I'm going to probably start doing again here, but doing my Tuesday night auctions, raising and putting that money aside, raising a bunch of money, or taking a half or a percentage or whatever it might be, depending on how many auctions we do, getting a lump sum of money together, and then going and actually doing the shopping. And then donating all the toys to like a trailer or a stop, or even finding people, and maybe even throw the whole thing, if depending on how much money we can raise, maybe even like finding some kids or maybe some less fortunate people and buying them a couple cool things for Christmas, whatever, as well. That was my initial plan. Unfortunately, it was too late. So then I was like, all right, I want to do the Toys for Tots thing. Well, I actually called like the Walmarts and Targets around. This was like a month or so before we were doing it. I'm like, talking to the managers. I'm like, hey, would you guys allow me to film in there? Like if we kind of filmed this and like did some clips and we're raising money. And they were like, unfortunately, you'd have to get it okayed through our PR, through home office. And I can tell you, when you wanting to do it by this date to be in way before Christmas, I can tell you there's no way you're going to get approved. Like both Walmart and Target were telling me this at the time I was calling them. So I have to do it much earlier, like if it's something we do this year. But they're like, you can't do it. So what we ended up doing is just taking that money. And I want to say it wasn't quite as much as Mended Little Hearts when we did this one, because it was a shorter term thing and there wasn't as much planning. There wasn't as many people to get involved. It was kind of a one night deal. But I want to say it was like 14 or 1,500 or something is what we just direct donated to Toys for Tots. And, I got a letter from them, and, I show everybody the proof, like on the streams, like I show them the donation amount, the certification that we donated this money. This is what we raised, so I'm never doing any of it for me to profit anything. That's not what any of it's about. Like I show everything. I show all the proof on the streams. Like I show when we get the stuff in the mail, like showing, hey, this dollar amount was donated on this date for this.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's really what it's about, man. Like and again, I can't express the type of feeling you get when you do things like that and when you help other people, because again, like I've always said, I hate absolutely, and I don't like the word hate, but I just have to use it when I talk about seeing people struggle, because
Yeah.
that's exactly it. I hate to see people struggle. Period.
Yeah. In a
I
country
wish
that,
nobody had to struggle, like financially. I wish we could all live comfortably, or we could all, you know, be okay and not have to worry about what tomorrow brings, or if I'm going to be able to eat or feed my kids, or if I can give my kids a Christmas. And the Christmas before that, I did it was kind of like a member in need, but I had
hmm
asked online on like Twitter and stuff, because I have a decent following. I had said I wanted to do something special and like donate or help a couple families out for Christmas that can't afford it, that have kids or whatever, so that they have a hot meal and they can get their kids some decent gifts and whatever. So I ended up doing that 2 Christmases ago, and then this last Christmas was Toys for Tots. So, but
yeah.
yeah, yeah, just an awesome. It's just an awesome feeling, man. It's it's not about recognition from anyone. It's not about any of that. It's about what you get out of it, the personal experiences you get, and the feelings you get from doing it. From being that giver. Because again, like I said earlier, it's great if somebody gives me something, and I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, I get so much more out of helping someone else or giving to somebody else, and what that brings to them. The smile on their face, seeing them happy, seeing them maybe have less struggle for a day, a week, whatever it might be. That's more important to me than anything. So,
Yeah. In a country that's as blessed and as fortunate and as, we all have. I mean, I say first world problem. I mean, there's people that,
yeah.
there's people that have, less than, and there's just, my heart goes out, and I just myself, I know that there's more that I can do. There's more that I want to do. You've definitely stirred some thought in me. Uh, I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know what that's going to
Right.
champion. I know, I don't know about you, but I'm a friend of Christ. I'm a Christ
Mhm.
follower. Jesus is my friend. I bend the knee every morning. I open my Bible. I pray every single morning. So for me to hear that, to hear you do what you do. You do you, boo. You
Mhm.
do you, boo. And
Yep.
just it inspires me to do. I don't know what, but I'm definitely gonna bend the knee and let God tell me what I need to do. But it's definitely gonna be more. And that's really, I I admire. I thank you. I'm sure there's everyone that is listening is thanking you, and really I want to give you an opportunity to anyone that's listening or anyone that is watching. Just how do they get to know you more, and how do they get to learn more about what you do, and how can they help? How can they help you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, on my YouTube, if you ever want to check out any of my streams or check me if I'm live, if you put the bell on whatever, it's just Deafness 45. So it's the same way you see on my screen on the screen here below. DEFNESS 45. If you want to keep up with me on the social media platforms, on Twitter, it's just at I am Deafness 45, and it's also the same on Instagram. So those are really the places you can find me or connect with me. You can also email me. It's just my screen name, deafness45 at gmail.com. So it's very simple. But yeah, I mean, connect, check it out. I mean, I have been very light on my YouTube side of things for a while now, just because everything has been so hectic and crazy, but it's going to start to ramp back up here again. I will tell you, I'm actually trying to work on something, and I'm hoping that maybe even, well, we're doing this on a Monday night. On Tuesday night, if I'm not able to do an auction this week or maybe next week, I'm planning on starting something where it's kind of more or less like a community hangout, whatever you want to call it, where it's basically people can come on kind of like we are on a panel right now, but we're live, and you can either be in a panel or you can be in a chat room. But it's for people that just need a place to hang out, just need a
Yeah.
place to feel accepted, just a place where they can chat. They don't have to worry about anybody judging them or stating who they are, because if any trolls or any weirdos come in, they get banned, they get pushed out right away. And this is a place where you'll feel welcome. The community will bring you in, and again, you don't even have to put your camera on or anything or come on panel. You can simply be in chat and interact. But I've always been a firm believer within my community, what I've built on my YouTube and everything else, the way we've raised this money with the community and everyone else, is the more you interact, and that's for anywhere you go and hang out in any streams or any places or communities or chat rooms, whatever. The more you interact, the more you're actually going to really gain out of it. And don't be afraid to say hi. Don't be afraid to say a few things in a chat room. Don't worry. I know it's going to seem weird at first if you haven't done it, or you're in a room or a community where it's new names, new faces. But I can tell you that if it's any way like our community is, or like my community that I know of is, they're going to welcome you with open arms. And you may be somebody out there right now that feels like you have nobody, feels like maybe a lot of your friends you distance yourself from for certain reasons. And I've had to do that in my life. Maybe there's a lot of different reasons why you did or you didn't. This is a place, this is somewhere where you can truly come and you can feel welcomed, and hopefully you can build some relationships, because at the end of the day, that's ultimately what it's about. It's about building relationships. Even when we're talking the hobby side or the cardboard side, the cardboard comes second. It's the people, it's the relationships, it's what you build from it. And you never know, you may one day run into your new best friend in one of these chat rooms by hanging out and just getting to know somebody. You don't know what's going to come across. And if there's one more thing I can say as I'm leaning in with all this, there's a gentleman, an entrepreneur that I once looked up to that passed away a few years ago, but he had mentioned to another person, and he had said this live in a video, and it was documented, but he said, you may not touch 1 million people, but you may touch that one that will touch 1 million. That's powerful. Mm-hmm. Remember that.
Yeah, I'll go back to, and the hobby is the people. The hobby is the people. Hello, Newman. I'm a huge, DC nerd in the last, Justice League, Ezra Miller and Flash and Batman are sitting there, and he's going, I've never saved anybody. I've never been in a battle. I don't know what to do. And Matt Damon looks at him and he goes, just save one.
Yep.
Just save one. And you'll know from there. And he saves one guy. And he's like, oh. And then he just goes. So just save one. So I'll get out mine. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish up.
No, I was just going to say one more thing, because as we're kind of, this side note of the charity works and all that, I got to tell you, and I just got to give a shout out to another person out there that I know pretty well in the hobby that does a ton of charity work, and it's Jimmy Guns. And it's a guy that I mentioned to you earlier about possibly even bringing on some time at some point to interview as well. I know you don't personally know him, but he'd have some great charity stories for you as well. He's probably honestly done more charity work overall in the hobby, on the hobby side, that I'm aware of than even I have. So I just, I got to throw that out there. Huge shout out to him, because he's doing a ton for a lot of people.
We'll have to have him on, because this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and I'm going to try to it's tech in cards, but without people, you don't have technology, and without people, you don't have cards. So the humanistic stories, they all need to be brought to light. So thank you,
sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining. I know we went way long, but you know what? I just let it go because it's such an important topic and such a need. I'm going to wrap up by saying, if you need any help, reach out to Jeff, reach out to me. I bend the knee. If you need a prayer request, I do it all the time. People ask me all the time for prayer requests, and I I do right then and there, every single morning. No problem. I got a list sitting right here on my computer, so that when I'm ready to pray,
Yep.
don't even think anything about it. Just reach out to me on Twitter. On Twitter, it's at TX Card Dude. Again, no judge. I'll just put you on the list and keep going. If you want to reach out to me personally, it's Brad.Bethune at Integris, INTEGRISIT.com. That's my work. I have my phone 90%. It's on the floor now because I didn't want people to interrupt while we were. But my phone is attached to the hip. My wife hates it, but it's attached to the hip just because I feel that if someone's in need, and they no problem whatsoever. So that's what we got. I really hope and appreciate that you enjoyed the stories and enjoyed, I enjoyed having you on, Jeff. I really did. Thank you very much for your time.
I appreciate you having me, man.
And, thank you. Like and subscribe if you like it. If you're on Spotify, Apple, whatever, if you like it, reach out to us. Let us know. We're here for y'all. And have a fantastic, fantastic day or night, however you're watching. So take care.
Take care, guys.